How have I been associated in the past with the following individuals, and how may I best help them in the present? First, my daughter. In the experience before this, the daughter was a friend that doubted the self then. In the Egyptian experience, the daughter was then a daughter. Thus the relationships we find at present, in which the daughter at periods doubts and resents, and yet periods when there is the turning to for counsel. Hence the usage or application, be patient, but instruct in that which is found expressed in the 14th and 17th of St. John. Do ye indeed know what jealousy and hate breed? Do ye know what longings and desires create that are only gratifying the emotions of the body? And how they become as hangers on in the form of habits that may undermine. Then, only hope and faith and kindness and gentleness, brotherly love and patience, beget that strength, that harmony, that peace which is of the everlasting nature as promised in him. Then read, not merely read but analyze, as in its relationship to thee, the 30th chapter of Deuteronomy, then the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th chapters of St. John, and know that they speak to thee. And we will find that the nervous tension, the disturbance which has been a part of thy experience because of the emotions in the physical body, will be put away. Then be not long-faced, nor as a goody-goody character of personage, but be ye good for something. Know that as ye walk with him in the promises that are given in those passages indicated, he abides with thee. And if he abides with thee, what can make thee afraid? For, he is life, light, hope, patience, love, in its essence. And as ye manifest same in thy conversation, in thy thoughts, in thy dealings with thy fellow men, ye are indeed his. Before that, the entity was in the promised land during those periods when the Master walked in the earth. The entity was among those peoples of Bethsaida with whom the Lord walked and talked and worked. The entity became a companion of those known as the keepers of the faith and aided especially the teacher who helped Paul in his ministrations, Barnabas. Hence the entity was closely associated with the activities, teachings and writings of many of those things which were a part of the early experiences of the peoples in that period of activity. The entity was beautiful in body and mind. The entity wrought much disturbance among some of those early activities in the church in Antioch. Yet, as an associate and a companion of Barnabas, with the persecutions which came with Paul, the entity aided in all of the activities of the early church, the entity losing its life only in those periods when carried to Rome as an example for those of that era and period. Then was Marcia. In the present, the entity may gain its concepts, its hopes, its activities, from the teachings of that period. Study, then, the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th of St. John, with all of that which thou helped to write, in those activities that brought to those people much that is not given in other portions, even of the New or the Old Testament, as faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. By it, through it, were the worlds brought into being. Also, yet we have a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. For, the entity then bore the marks as the children made, as the followers of Melchizedek, the priest, as manifested in him, who gave, in my Father's house are many mansions, if it were not so I would have told you. These and such have been and are the things which the entity may bring home to others, as it did to all those whom it met. Hence in the present, in the writing, in the ministering, in the teaching with others, stress these as being the basis of that which moves others. For, indeed in him we live and move and have our being. So may the beauty of that gained through those experiences become a part of thy activity in the present. First, the entity must within itself know it ideal, spiritually, mentally, materially, know the author, as to whether this may answer for every purpose that may be sought, for every experience whether of a mental, spiritual, material or social nature. These would be the first steps. As from here, we would study that which inspired those words expressed in the 30th of Deuteronomy and in the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th of St. John. Not know only the record so as to be able to repeat same, but know it first as being directed from the spiritual influence from without to that spiritual influence within this body-mind. Thus make each phase of its life that which is held in its periods of meditation and prayer, as well as in the daily living and association, in connection with other individuals. This is the law that applies to those tenets expressed in Know ye the Lord thy God is one. Know that he hath prepared a way. Know that he hath not willed that any soul should perish, but hath made the way plain through him who came into the world that man might have access to the Father. Know that he is indeed the way, the truth and the light, and they that would climb up some other way deceive themselves and would become robbers, robbing themselves of the assurance that he came that ye might have life and have it more abundantly. As ye live those precepts that are his, that is, ye shall love the Father as thyself, with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy body, thy neighbor as thyself, ye manifest his glory, not justify self in any manner, but rather glorify that Spirit which he made manifest, who thought it not robbery to make himself equal with God, who hath called thee to be as brethren with him, not as a servant but equal with him, that he with the Father may abide with thee always, giving that peace which cometh with the abiding presence of him in thy consciousness. Then, as ye manifest before thy fellow man, as ye do unto the least of thy fellow man, ye do unto thy Lord, thy God. This is the fear of the Lord and the beginning of wisdom. Not that knowledge alone is the way. Though it may be power, such power may be used to self's undoing. For, there is a way that seemeth right to the children of men, yet the end may bring death. He is God, he is Savior, he is the Master of life, not of death. He is God of the living, not of the dead. In the application of those tenets, those principles, in dealing with others, they may be manifested in the fruit of the Spirit, patience, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness, brotherly love. These are manifestations of the Spirit of that Christ. In self they may grow, as is the ability in self to come to that knowledge, that awakening of his promises abiding ever in thee. And such administration of love may bring healing, in body, in mind, to others. This is the mission, this is the purpose that ye may establish in him, not of thyself but in him. For as he abideth in thee, thus may there be aroused to activity in the mind, in the heart, in the purpose of others that which is ever creative, living, the spirit of eternal love and joy and hope. For he has given, yea, hath by his own will and self established same, if ye will ask in my name, believing, doing, being that ye ask for, that the Father will do, that you may be glorified in and through me. That is the purpose, that is the way. For he is the way, the truth and the light. Then, let not thy heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid, but putting on the whole armor that is manifested in him, study to show thyself approved unto him, a workman not ashamed, rightly dividing the words of knowledge from the words of truth, manifesting wisdom in thy choice, and choose life day by day. Thus ye may come to that throne of grace and mercy and light, and boldness. And thus may ye bring to thyself, to others, the knowledge yea, the wisdom of serving the living God. Read not merely to know but making it a part of self. The 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th of St. John. Make them the promises there thine own, not as to a selfish thing, but as a motive for thy attempts to bring relief, and to do for others. Let the body read the 30th of Deuteronomy, and the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th chapters of St. John. Make them real, listen to the reading of these as if this were spoken to thee. For these will aid, at such a period, to enable the body to concentrate, and thus give the opportunity for the correct associations of purposes, of spiritual influence, of divine guidance, as may bring the normal forces for this body, if there is used consistency and persistency. Ye have sought, ye have heard, ye have listened to the many who have cried, Lo, here is the way, lo, this is the direction, this is the manner of approach. Rather turn ye to these. In the 30th of Deuteronomy find what is told thee to do. Turn again to that is found in the 150th Psalm, and give praise that he, thy Lord, thy God, has entrusted to thee that way, that belief in aid in thy purposes. Then turn to the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th of St. John, and know that he speaks again with thee, and that in thine own heart, in thine own mind will come that peace of the way chosen, that leadeth to life everlasting, to joy that knows no confines, to peace that passeth understanding. In thy meditation, in thy prayer, study the 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th of St. John, not just as wrote, but as though he were speaking with thee. For it is to thee, as ye embrace, as ye encompass that awareness of his presence, and all else will be eradicated. For his promise is and has been, I will abide with thee. I will not forsake thee nor leave thee comfortless. I stand at the door and knock. Open then to him, for he is able to keep thee in the way thou shouldst go.